Hello, it's JJ Humphrey, and I am with Bobby Cleveland. This is Elephant in the Room. Guys, we're going to talk about several subjects today. But, Bob, I wanted to start off. Did you see my post yesterday on that I was at this big auction, huge auction? They sold, I bet, over 100 guns, lots of ammo. I went down there. My wife had given me a permission to spend $1,000. I ended up spending way more than that. I went plumb crazy, Bob. The guns were going too good to turn them down, but and got a lot of ammo. But I put out a post. The reason we were at that auction is my good friend Russell Fincher got arrested. Now Russell is a preacher and a school teacher, and the ATF come in, the Cur Dogs, the ATF, illegals. Traitors, treasonous government, tyrannical government's what I'm going to say, came in, raided his house for, I say no reason, confiscated his guns. How do you confiscate guns when you don't charge a guy with nothing? Confiscate a bunch of his guns, turned around and offered to buy all the guns back for $10. You can't even buy a pellet gun for $10. And then that's called extortion, by the way. And it's extortion by the government. I tried to charge him with that. But he had to sell all these guns and ammo to pay for his lawyers. Guess how much his lawyer's going to cost, Bob?
I would say it's going to cost a little over $10,000.
Yeah, how about 85?
Wow.
85. And you know what? They took him to a grand jury and could not indict him. And turned around and took him back to another. I would have thought that'd be double jeopardy. They say it ain't. But took him to another and indicted him for selling ammo to a felon. You can go anywhere and buy ammo, and they never check you to see if you're a felon. How in the world can they do that? You talk about some low-life suckers, boy.
So they set him up on that?
Oh, I'd say all day long. It's a setup. And again,
now, when you buy shells, it's been a long time since I bought anything. You have to show your ID.
Bob, they only check you for age. They never check you for anything on, whether you're a felon or not. You don't ever have a waiting period. I bought ammo yesterday. Of course, I got checked on the guns, but I didn't get checked on the ammo. I could have picked up. In fact, I bought the ammo and picked it up
offline for some reason, JJ.
But anyways, I went out to that the other day, and I just want to start by saying that because I want people to know what's going on with the ATF coming in and raiding. Bob, I don't know if you paid attention to the guy over in Arkansas, there in Hope, Arkansas, that's over the airport. They come in and raided his house and killed him the other day.
Oh, and, really? That's the guy that was bringing in a lot of stuff years ago I heard about.
I don't know if that's the same guy or not, Bob.
Well, it's the same airport.
Yeah, that used to be a pretty hot spot for drugs back when Slick Rick was governor. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that went on right there. In fact, I had a truck one time, $250 million worth of cocaine. A couple of guys I supervised got caught in Hope, Arkansas with that. That was lights out. That was lights out for them. So it's pretty ugly. But yeah, they were out there.
I remember going on, we used to go on float trips over there. And some of the guys that went were from Arkansas and from that area, and they talked about. I just remember talking about it and how crooked it was and stuff that was going on there. That's been years ago.
Well, they raided over him being a federal firearms licensed person, I think, and anyways, ended up getting in a fight with him and killed him over there. But our listeners need to be aware. Man, the government is overreaching, and this is a militant arm of the government. ATF has become, and if you look, remember the guy we had on here, wide receiver, how they sold guns, the ATF sold guns to Mexican cartels, and then they had the Fast and Furious where they sold guns to the Mexican cartel. And here's the ones that are selling guns illegally to the cartels, now policing us and saying, oh, you sold ammo to a felon. Like anybody would know, you can go anywhere and do it, and we're going to put you in prison for 5 years, cost you $5,000 to, those boys want to talk to me. But anyways, Bob, I just want to start off, let our listeners know that that's going on. There's going to be another auction for ammo. I think that's April 20th, and you can get online and check that out as well. So y'all need to check that out and get you some good ammo at a reasonable price. Remember, it's for a good cause and goes to the defense fund of this patriot that is being, prosecuted by a bunch of persecutors. And so let's make sure we support him. Hey, Bob, I know you went to a meeting the other night where the state auditor gave a report, and it was pretty damning, wasn't it, Bob?
It's very concerning. PowerPoint presentation. She said this was the first one she gave it to. It was a super information there, easy to follow, easy to understand. She did a heck of a job on it. She's done a lot of work on the money that was spent back there in 2022, 2021, 22, 23, of some money that was spent. And one person was worked for the OMES, and she was the go-to person if you're have any issues with your budget and putting that budget together. You go talk to her. Well, she has changed her job and went to be a consultant, left OMS and making some good money, and they were paying her some money that was without even a receipt or what they're even giving her money for. But that was under questions. There was a lot of things that was going on under Director Hart that was fascinating, and you need to watch that.
Just so our listeners know, Director Hart, who is now the director of the Department of Corrections, he was the director over OMES. And what you're saying is that all of this possible scandal and all of these issues, possibly illegal activity, just possible wrongdoings,
took place under his watch.
Yeah, and this is not us saying this. This is the state auditor, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think she's saying or I'm saying or you're saying that he was involved in it. He was the director at that time of the number of things that took place. There was things like
Bob. One of those was probably the Swadley's barbecue, correct?
Correct. That's one of them. And I asked the question too, and she wouldn't answer it. If they got 3 people that indicted, they're all Swadley's people. Nobody with the state was indicted. Now I don't see how they could just get these 3 guys for something, and nobody in the state had anything to do with it. So if no one in the state had anything to do with it, how could they get these 3 guys? Because they didn't do anything wrong then.
Well, Bob, here's the deal. I got called on that. I was on that investigation team for the House, and I got called by the media because they said nobody would talk to them. They always know I'm good for a comment. I don't have no problem saying something. They call me. That's why I get on news a lot, because nobody else will say that. But I told them, I said, listen here. I said, I'm not shocked by the 3 indictments. I think those 3 indictments are correct. But whereas the rest of the indictments, they couldn't have done it unless some stuff was going on with the state. All these contracts. And again, here's the deal. I'm not saying Hart did it himself, but his job is to oversee those contracts. That's what they do, is to oversee the contracts. And again,
also he had a no bid contract. In other words, you didn't have to go out and get bids. You just got what you want.
And can I get a witness? That's where a lot of this problem. There's a reason why we've said when it comes to the state, you need to bid, because we need a record of who did what and who bid what.
Absolutely.
But again, under Hart, that's his standard protocol, is to do away with all of this stuff that you've seen happen over the years, how we built in, whether it be merit protection. There's a reason why we have merit protection. It's quit cronyism and nepotism and all them other favoritisms and all
Now,
that.
now it's just out of control.
Well, you can't take it all out, Bob. We never got it all out. But golly, like you say, now under Hart, I mean, he slides out. So again, we're not saying he's guilty of all this, but I can tell you, I wrote the other day when I put out about his salary, how his salary increased to $90,000,
right?
Which I think is not legal.
Now, JJ, I've been looking up the number of prisoners they have in California versus how many we have, and what the guy over there makes, and he makes about the same amount of money that Hart makes right now.
Right.
Okay. Now Hart makes, what was it, 90,000 more than the last two directors we had, which they had experience.
Right.
And he had no experience, and he's making a high dollar salary. But it come to find out there's a lot of that going on in the state. Now, I don't know.
Oh, Bob, yeah. I mean, if you want to look at, okay, how about, so just so we can all follow along how crazy things are getting and not being in check. So you have a person that was over workman's comp, I think. They ended up giving their husband a contract. I think there's some real questionable ethical things about giving a husband a contract. Instead of that, ended up in any problems, moved to tourism and get a $30,000 raise. So you moved to tourism under very, very questionable circumstance. Now, I like the gal. I get along with her. She's actually very nice. But again, that's the kind of stuff going on. Boom, you come over here, where in tourism, we just had Swaley's Barbecue. We just had the director of tourism resign because of this. We know that there had to be some stuff on the contracts. The contracts are written insanely, and nobody would write contracts. That's why I'm saying there ought to be some charges.
Also everybody OABS has all moved on. They've either quit the state or they moved on to something else. So that's kind of questionable on that respect. Basically, what was in that PowerPoint where they're all gone, nobody there.
Bob, I understand some of the POs they put in that they were sent back and said, "Hey, no, you need to doctor these up because we've got this over here." So again, on that level, how in the world can you have only these people on the private side when we know that there was massive problems on the state side and nobody held accountable? And again, Bob, I turned in a lot of the COVID money that I sat and listened to a law enforcement officer who was over the warehouse report to the AG's investigator of millions of dollars missing and unaccounted for and spent wrongly, and nothing was done on that. And so again, I know during that time period, there was a lot of things going on. I know that personally. I sat there and listened to the officer. In fact, the officer went through me. I'm the one contacted the AG, set up the meeting. We actually met in my office right here in Lane, Oklahoma, spent probably 5-6 hours talking about all of this stuff. Never hear a word, Bob. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, I wrote the other day on that raise. And Bob, on that raise, I looked it up, and in the law, we're messed up. It says the board can approve it, the legislators approve it, or the governor. You can't have three different groups can approve that. They need to go back.
I don't think the board would still be existing. If they change the rules on the board, they're hamstrung. They can't do anything. They're really not even used to having the board with what they got now.
Well, Bob, he said at multiple times we got him on record saying that he transferred that salary from OMES to, Director of Department of Corrections. Well, I looked up the law. I find no place in the law that allows you to transfer your salary carry your salary over, just do whatever you want. Well, I'm this person and I'm going to get this. The director's salary is set. It is the director's salary. It
Well, I know
ain't
the last two directors, and one of them had, I don't know how many years of experience, 25, 30 years experience. And the other one had experience of working with people, with several 100,000 people. And both of those salaries were around 175. Is that correct?
185, Bob, is what I think
185.
Director Crow was making. And Director Crow not only had, 25, 20-something years experience in the Department of Corrections, but he also had law enforcement experience, if I'm not mistaken, before that.
Correct. He was a sheriff.
He had multiple training. I think he had the education as well and all that. So to try to compare those two, and again, and Director Crow knows that me and him didn't always agree, but I will say that I believe that he wanted to do good for his employees, that he was trying to do better for the employees. You know what I'm saying? And while we didn't agree on everything, we always had communication, and we continued to work together. No matter what happened, we continued to work together.
He was professional. What's not professional is when you ask a guy a question, or you send a guy a text message or an email and he ignores you. That's very unprofessional. Bob, there.
I almost a year ago today advised, hey, I'm done working with him. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Now you can say, well, JJ, you've been unprofessional. You made up little songs, and you've made him mad at you, Bob.
He was already mad at you. So
hey, last May, I come to the conclusion there ain't no working. There ain't going to be no working, and gloves come off, and they've been off, and I've not held too much back. Although, Bob, I will say this: whether it's been the rapes, whether it's been the showers, no matter what it's been, I've called him, just like on that gun deal. I mean, I called and said, hey, I got reporters calling me. What do you want me to say? Hey, mom's the word. He never calls me back. He never says nothing. Next thing you know, out comes the governor's report. Governor comes out with a statement, and so again, he can't stand on his own 2 feet.
Well, when they were doing the deal in the shower, keeping those people in the shower, you notified him at least 2 weeks before we made it public, and to give him a chance to correct it, stop it. But he said it wasn't going on. But you went ahead and reached out to him to do that. You could have just went on without saying anything to him, because they eventually admitted, yeah, there was a problem there.
Oh, they admitted, but they didn't admit it was always just a little. We were moving inmates from one place.
A couple of nights, maybe 3 nights.
You're in the same facility. What facility takes 3 days to walk down here or walk down there? You know what I'm saying? That's horrific. I mean, the fact that they would even tell that is horrific. And we've got reports of up to 9 days in there. And it's just, again, it's human rights violation. Bob, I've got statements from their own employees saying it was done for punishment, that they knew it, and they said it was for punishment, put them people back in there. I've got that. How can they even how can they have an investigation and say any otherwise? But
speaking of that, JJ, I got a text message that says it's about Great Plains. It says they're dying off. They're killing off. They had 1 OD and 1 stabbing just in 1 day.
Yep.
And they said someone needs to clear the place out and get someone who knows what they're doing, what the hell they're doing. That's what it says. What the hell they're doing. And that's just one of a number of text messages I received.
Bob, I got what I was told. They had 1 stabbed. I don't know that they died. They had 1 OD'd, and then they had another one that they were talking was taken out on a gurney that they were doing CPR on. That was all in 1 week right there that I'd gotten a call, as well as, Bob, and I will come back to this OMS, but while we're on this subject, we'll just go ahead and jump on this one as well. But not only have I got all those calls at that one facility, but what I'm getting called by these inmate families, Bob, is the fact that they've got an outbreak of meningitis. And again, I'm not saying they do or don't, but I was told that they had 1 or 2 people die and that they had possibly 3 people that had this outbreak of meningitis. Anytime you have that, if there's more than one, it's called an epidemic. You treat it like it's an epidemic. From what I study on, I don't want to act like I'm a medical person. Boy, that's way out of my reach. But I've looked all this stuff up, and again, to my knowledge, this is some bad stuff. And so,
well, that's been 2 weeks, right?
Well, it's the end of last week, I think, and kind of into this week. So about a week and a half of what I'm getting, but I'm starting to get a lot of calls saying that it is going on and that they're doing absolutely the department's saying they're doing one thing according to the inmates and the inmate family. And again, Bob, I hate to, how I am, Bob. I do not like not verifying stuff. I like to verify. I am a person that, hey, let's look this up. Let's verify it. Let's find out for certain. But here's the problem. You can't verify anything through the Department of Corrections. One, if they tell you something, you got to verify whatever they told you. You can't just take it for gospel. There's no way that anything they tell me, I don't take it for gospel. I find ways to verify what they tell me. Just like on inmate families, I don't take it always for gospel. But when you get multiple people calling you on some of the same things, and the department won't, respond to you, then guess what? You don't have any choice but to go out and report it and say, hey, this is what. And again, Bob, we're not saying it is so. What we're saying is these are the reports that we get, and the Department of Corrections, being the bureaucrat, the unelected bureaucrat up there who has massive problems from the last place he went, sounds like, who has massive problems here. That unelected bureaucrat chooses to thumb his nose at elected officials, at the office of the elected officials, and does not respond. You know what, Bob? Where does he get that kind of authority? Where does he get that? He's arrogant. He's arrogant beyond belief. Where does he get that authority to just say, I don't answer to you?
Well, there's only one place he can get it. It's pretty easy on that one. There's only one place he can get that authority at. There's no place else but one place. Hey, JJ, I got another text I'll read to you. You kind of talk about that a minute here. It's we've had 4 overdoses in less than 24 hours. They all lived, but that was because staff got them quickly and administered the Narcan. Our population is under 800 inmates, and we are locked down facility. This crap is so dangerous to us as well. I'm just thinking about retirement at this point. Short of staff, shifty supervisors, way too many drugs and violent inmates. And are the inmates just more violent today than what they have been? Or are we letting them get away with more violence than what they've done before?
Well, Bob, you can't stop it when you're short-staffed, and that's the problem. Again, you can't go off what DOC has said. DOC comes out and says we're 1 to 15. And again, they blocked the bill that I had to be able to try to get to the bottom of that. Again, they're pulling politics, and you can see that in how many bills I've got, how many of the bills that should have come to corrections, and you can see the influence that these state agencies have over our legislators. Again, why would the legislators back a person who's had all the problems, who's come through in the manner that he's come through without zero experience and having all the problems that he has? But because of me calling them out, I've been kind of, which is okay, Bob. I don't care whether they take anything. I'm gonna call him out, whether I'm chairman of corrections or not chairman of corrections. He's pretty easy to call out. So, but where does he get that kind of audacity to just say I'm not going to answer? And the problem, Bob, is the shortage of officers. Yes, drugs come in, violence happens. Inmates care less what you're going to say because they know you don't have the ability. And when they know you don't have the ability, when they know you don't run the house, they run the house. And when you start meeting with them to talk about not have your officers in that meeting, bypass your officers and go meet with the inmates, that's what you just told those inmates. You are in control and we will do whatever you want. We need you to do this. We need you. You need to cooperate. Well, when you do that, you've lost. And they've done that. They've done that, to my understanding.
I was reading and looking up things on California prisons, and that's one comment that this correction officer said. Said anytime you turn it over to the inmates, you're in trouble, and that's when the trouble really starts and hits the fan. So
that's where we're at, and because of the shortage. But again, Bob, one of the most dangerous things is this director who keeps on with the messages that me and you are idiots, that me and you are just trying to politically.
Well, he's trying to fire me. He's trying to get me fired, flat out.
Oh, he's after you. He's after me. I mean, let me tell you, if you think he ain't after me, wow, I guarantee you they've gone around to leadership and tried to get me knocked out of the way. But it's not just them. I make several people. I'm after several groups. But
I haven't. And it's what it's trying to do is he wants to run OCP, and that's not how it works.
Well, he don't want to run OCP.
He wants to do away with it. That's what his long goal is. He told me that from day one. He wants to do away with it, and that's what he's trying to do now. But let me ask you this question. Now, I've heard people say that that people who like him, admire him, respect him, say, well, he's really a good guy, just trying to do good things. But if he's so good of a guy, how come that every time we have every case that we have, every single case, we win? I mean, maybe we lost one. But what we do is they say, okay, this person was fired wrong. You did the wrong way. You did the wrong thing. You didn't follow the correct discipline. Yeah, whatever it is, you did it wrong, DOC. Put them back to work. What does he do? They appeal it. They appeal. So none of these people who was terminated wrongfully, none of these people who have been written up and given days off without paid correctly, none of those people, they're still going through the same thing. So you go up there and you win, but you can't win because he wants to appeal everything. He's wasting the taxpayer dollars. And what is that saying that you really think about the employees of the Department of Corrections? That's just saying, Bob, I don't really care about the employees.
Bob, they had an old boy named Ward that was their communication director.
Yeah.
Josh Ward. And, man, if you go out and I talk to a lot of reporters. I talk to all kinds of reporters. Guess what? He was, thought highly of out there in that world. In the reporting world, he was thought very highly of. Very knowledgeable on the Department of Corrections, had worked with the Department of Corrections. Don't find anybody who had an issue with him that I know of, that I've run across. Know several people who worked right beside him, very close to him. Hey, they fired him. The person, one of the people right closest to him told me he never knew it was coming. He had no idea, walked in, fired him, and hires a person from OMES who has zero experience, zero knowledge of the Department of Corrections, zero all the way across. And again, may be a good person. I'm not down in them, but bam, you have a doctor who is awesome guy. You and I both know him. Very knowledgeable, man. Gives numbers like you wouldn't believe. Knows the medical side of DOC. Could make more money elsewhere, but just has a passion to try to change the Department of Corrections medical. Guess what? Walk in, fire him, bring a person from OMES, no knowledge, not qualified, no nothing, puts them to work. 2 weeks later, after people raised Cain, they wouldn't have done anything. They'd have left it just like it was and wasn't qualified until me and you and some other people started making an issue, mainly me and you, started making an issue. Well, now they've moved that person. I don't have a bad word to say about that person. I'm not speaking poorly of that person. What I'm speaking poorly of is when you tell me this is such a good guy and people tell me he's a good guy. Good people don't go down and fire people for no cause, and then bring their people in who they have good friends and relationships with and give them massive raises and have zero qualifications, just like him. To bring him over, zero qualifications, 90,000 raise, then look what he does. He does the same thing to his cronies, nepotism, cronyism, and all of this. That's not good for me. That's not anything. Bob, I think one of the things there at OMS that they're talking about is he started a process where he was charging. Not only did he make it where you didn't have to bid, which is problematic, that just opens problems. Don't say it's illegal. It just opens problems. There's a reason we had that process. But then he turned around, if I'm not mistaken, and charged a 1% fee for doing. So here's the state agents, this state agency that's supposed to be overseeing contracts, and they're going to charge a 1% fee to the state for this. Bob, that's not his money. That's not the governor's money. That's not the legislator's money. That's the state of Oklahoma's money. That's the people's money. And they play with it like it's their own money and give it to their own cronies and their own little, But again, how do you charge 1%? And who give him the authority? That's what I say about
the legislature didn't do it because he didn't take it to him because he said he didn't have to. He could do what he wanted.
He does whatever he wants. And that's the issue. This unelected bureaucrat wielding more power than the elected officials, snubbing his nose at the court, snubbing his nose at the legislators, doing whatever, millions of dollars. Oh, I'll just do this because I want
to. That's why people are saying we got so much corruption in government, in the state government.
Right.
I never heard this at this magnitude 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's just the past 4 years where it's become bigger and bigger of these guys that's non-elected doing the things they're doing, especially Hart.
Oh, he's been the number one. He was in the number one spot that created all of this, and that was his attitude. We will do whatever we want. We're going to kick out all of these things that control government, and we're going to do whatever we want. And because we're private, we know better, and we know much more. I don't need all the education. I don't need all the experience. I don't need all the training because I'm smarter than everybody else. That's his attitude. And I know business. Well, you may know business. I don't know whether you do or not. You know how to corrupt stuff. I kind of see that. Now, whether you're, responsible criminally for it, I can't say, but I can tell you you're responsible for it because you were the top guy and this all happened under your watch. And the way that you did it opened the door to it. You know what I'm saying, Bob?
Well, JJ, one thing that's very interesting about the whole deal at OMES is they're all gone. Nobody's there that was there when he was there in upper management. They all left. Most of them left OMES, left the state. A few of them have gone over with him at DOC. But that's concerning right there on itself. Now, let's talk to you about this. Some of the things that we had, as I wrote them down here. There's filed another appeal for a long-term employee who received days off without pay, even though she had absolutely no prior discipline. Been with DOC at least 10 to 15 years. And I'm not sure on which one it is, but she's been there a long time. But what she did, and I bet you that 100 people have done this, more than that. She left her gun in a lockbox and left it there, took the inmate back to the prison, and then remembered and went back to the lockbox and got it. Well, absolutely that's wrong. There's no question about that. But to give somebody a number of days off for that, when you yourself just shot your floor.
Bob, here's the deal. I've done that. In fact, I've done it multiple times. I've actually got down the road and remembered it, had to turn around and go back and get it. I don't know what's the furthest I ever got out, but most time pretty quick I've remembered that. The problem is that you're out there on the road by yourself. There's a reason you're carrying that gun. And so if you want to give somebody 3 days off, if you think it's justified, I don't think that's progressive discipline. You're supposed to have progressive discipline. But here's the thing, Bob, up beside what you just said. When your director has reportedly left his gun in the car and let inmates watch the car, a loaded gun. Now, whether it happened or not, we can't get a report because he don't answer back. But we know for fact, because he's already come out with a statement, that he shot the floor. Now, here's what's funny. You try to get some records on that, on his training records, and I'm hearing they're cooking the books. I'll say it straight out right. I'm hearing y'all's cooking the books, and you can't cook them. There's no way that you can cover every trail. And again, what you're doing, there's policy violation with ancient. That's not against the law. That's an embarrassment. That's what that's called. That's embarrassment. But there's when you start changing state documents, then you are talking about a law violation. And those people that they're coming to and asking to change that, if you got brain in your head, you'll call me and verify that they told you to do that.
What if you put name down on the post that's not there? There's no, they weren't there that day, or
Bob, I'm here.
They weren't there.
And that's there's multiple ways to look at that, verify. But here again, when you start changing logs, when you start changing training records, when you start changing rosters, when you start changing state documents, it's felony.
But here's another one, JJ. What these guys are saying, oh, he's a good guy. He's just trying to do things better, everything. Here's another one. Person's been with the DOC 30 years, 30 plus years. Wrongfully terminated, has no back history of any kind of discipline whatsoever. Go to court. The judge even admonishes the lawyer in the court the way she was doing things. What do? We win the case. OCP wins. We win it. But they put the person back to work. Nope. They appeal it. And then what they do, they leave the appeal, then they don't do anything with it, with the courts, and they just keep putting it off. Well, they're hoping that person's either going to quit or there's something will happen because they're wrong in what they're doing. And people are starting to see that. The judges up there are starting to see the things that they're doing nobody else is doing in the state. The things the way that this has happened. Well, what does this tell you? This is the way he treats people. He could care less about people. You'll never convince me he cares about the DOC employees.
Bob, if like I say, if you looked at, they got lawsuits on about 9 employees that they fired that I expect they'll lose. And I figure they'll lose quite a bit of money. They're going to be more than $1 million. I figure $2 million or better that they're going to lose in those employees suing them. But again, hey, if you looked at Dr. Lewis that we've got, the whistleblower, all the documentation she provided, and she goes to court and wins, goes to court again and win. What do? They 3
times
at the court. Hart thumbs his nose at the court. We're not going to listen to you. We're going to appeal. Now, he ain't appealing on his dime. He's appealing on your mine dime, on the people's dime. That ain't the DOC's money. That's the people's money. And again, he's ruining lives. He's causing her harm because he looks bad, because he done decided that, she's going to go, whether she's right. And the deal was why she had to go, that she had the audacity to actually report the truth. She had the audacity and the character.
Well, that goes back to rapes. That goes back to rapes as transpired there that they've denied. And now we got, what's the other deal with this latest rape?
Well, Bob, hey, I got a call, and right now I'm not sure there wasn't 2 rapes. Bob, I got one's already went out on Channel 4, I think. They talked about the rape, but basically I've got video, and there's no question. And DOC comes out and says, we're taking all the steps we can to make sure that inmates are safe and that we hold our employees accountable. Well, yeah, I guess so. When you got it on video, I guess you have to. I mean, what else are you going to do when they catch you on video? But, Bob, how much have we provided over and over and over again on rapes that are occurring with, employees on inmate rape?
And one thing, JJ, though, their history of Prius DOC's history is really good. I don't hardly have any, according to the
Yeah.
DOC. But we have uncovered a number of them, and they cover those up. Or they not, maybe they don't cover them up. They tell the employee he can leave, and then once he leaves, then it's all over with. They don't do anything.
Well, Bob, if you don't report it, it never happened. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't on paper, it didn't happen. So if you have an employee that is highly suspected of having sex with an inmate, it's easier just to walk in and say, hey, you want us to go ahead and check you out, or do you want to resign? Well, guess what?
I think that on this particular case, I don't know if I know everything about it like you do, but in this particular case, this was done in a dorm with other people around.
Oh, yeah.
That absolutely makes no sense that someone would go in and do that in front of everybody else.
Well, Bob, what that tells you when you have that going on to that level is that
they can get away with it.
It's nobody even is concerned. And the reason they're not concerned, the reason you'll see that kind of behavior going on is the same as what we talked about a while ago. When the inmates know that they run the thing, when the inmates know that you're not going to address any of our behavior, you're not going to call us down on all the dope we're bringing in. We're going to bring in all the dope. We're going to have all the violence. We're going to rape anybody, stab anybody, harm anybody we want. When it turns into a deal like that, guess what? Well, same thing here. When you don't hold anybody accountable, and when everybody knows that all so-and-so just got to walk out, if they get caught, they ain't going to do nothing. They'll just, have you leave. And in fact, a lot of people may actually know stuff is going on. I've been told they've known for quite some time stuff is happening.
We've been hearing it.
Oh, absolutely. We hear it. And again, they don't address it until they have to, until they get caught red-handed. And then they're told, hey, if you make us investigate this, we'll charge you with rape. But if you want to leave, you can leave. Well, guess what? What are you going to do? Yeah.
What would have happened if this had taken place and they didn't have film?
Oh, I'm sure if this took place again and it was the inmate's word, officer, guess what? It's just going to be another thing swept under the carpet. Bye-bye. I think there's going to be even more come out on that possibility. I've got people reaching out to me on stuff. But again, is it? I'm getting called. When something like this happens, I start getting calls on a whole lot of other things.
I know, but it seems like with all of a sudden Mabel Bassett, they got so many problems, so much stuff going on there, and this rape is not unusual.
Bob, I don't know how big a stack of mail I've got that has been written through others. So there's a channel how it comes to me, and it's written through others, but everybody's instructed to send me stuff. And Bob, I've got enough mail. I couldn't go through it all if I wanted. I just recruited a person that works with me a lot on investigative reporting stuff. And that person's going to come in and help me go through that, highlight what's important, what I need to look at. I'm just so overwhelmed by all the reports. And again, Bob, we can't just take them at face value. We have to verify them. We have to check them out. But again, the reports that are coming in are massive. Bob, if you ever, I talked to the girl that got raped on the phone. I was at that gun auction.
Yeah, and I understand that our staff, somebody in DOC, are giving her a hard time.
That's what she said. That's what she told me.
Okay, that's what I heard. Okay.
But what's unbelievable is that I get a call while I'm in that auction, and I don't get good reception, so I had to run out of that auction, run around there at the back of the building, and it's her. I'm talking to her, and I'm just like, hey, give your mom my number. How they're getting my number, I don't know. I had one call me the other day, said a correctional officer told her to call me because there ain't nobody else could help. Now, that's bad when staff is telling inmates from the prison to call your legislator and get Humphrey on the phone because this is so bad, something's got to be done. Now, that and if I'm lying, I'm dying. I swear to that. I swear that happened. And it ain't one time, multiple times. And I got called the other day from one of the institutions, male institution. Hey, I'm being raped. I'm being raped all the time. I'm being raped in here. I got a film of a guy where he's saying, don't put me back in that cell. Don't put me back in that cell. I'm being raped. I'm being raped. They stick him right back in the cell. You know, I've got this stuff all day long. Who are you going to turn it over to? I've turned it over to the FBI. I've turned it over to all kinds of people. We called the AG. We turned it over to the FBI. And guess what? And again, this is the stuff we're seeing. And then you go back.
There's definitely an investigation going on. I don't think there's any question about that.
I was told there's an investigation going on. But, Bob, here's the deal. That's kind of like I was told we're going to investigate rape. And we go over and talk to the one guy who's being accused of covering it all up. Oh, he said he didn't do that. Well, hell, let's just call it a day then. Everything's good, you know. And then you call DOC and say, we're not going to accept that. We want you to bring that guy over. What do? They tell him that nose, and we don't have to do anything you say. We're not going to do it. And then, you know, we couldn't get a subpoena to make them, and that's what's wrong. Is everybody up there is afraid they're going to make somebody mad. It's all political. Bob, I could get into, I mean, I don't think state auditors even hit the tip of the iceberg on what the money is. I wish
she's good. I mean, she is. I mean, since I've been around, she's the best one I've seen.
Oh, I would say she's pretty good. But Bob, you know, they just scratched the surface. I mean, if you want to go into the nasty stuff, let's start going into all these contracts. Let's start going into private prisons. Let's see
so much, JJ. Where do you start at? There's so much corruption going on up there with these non-elected officials.
Well, I think she's starting at the right place. I think she starts at the head, and that's OMS. And again, I think that there's been too much power put in that little division, and I don't even know why we need them. They were there to stop all this, and they become the worst, offenders of all of it. You know, it seems like.
That's for sure. That's for darn sure.
Well, Bob, on the OMS situation, I think that you're going to see if they'll dig down deep on some of that. We had a lot of ARPA money. I heard there was problems with that. I know there was problems with COVID money. If they'll look at that, if they'll look at these contracts that we're talking about, if they will look at the problems of him moving people from OMS to DOC. I wrote the other day that he left out on very questionable circumstances. And I've said many times that they snuck him out the back door to get him out of the way because of all this. And again, I still feel that way. I've said that from day one, you know.
Well, we've been saying that they're getting away with stuff, but I think the days are closing in on them because there are so many different investigations going on now with DOC.
Well, Bob, I've got some requests in. We'll see if they could get some records, and I strongly suspect if I could get some records, subpoenaed. I strongly suspect, and I've got some people who will help me. I strongly suspect we get down to the bottom of doctoring and how they've, cooked some books and how they've doctored some paperwork. And allegedly, I'm going to say, I believe, and that's what I am saying is I believe. I got pretty high up official the other day told me, said, JJ, we like how you just say it as a matter of fact. And then you go, oh, I want to say that's alleged, I believe. So let me just start with, that's what I believe is going on. You can't accuse, you can say this is what I believe, and we had to get the proof.
That's what I believe.
I believe, but we got to get the documents. We got to be able to prove it. And again, here's what's sad, Bob, is you're not going to have Hart's name on that. What you're going to have is that employee that is stupid enough to let them use them. You're going to have Mr. Sharp going around putting people up to it. And then the question is Sharp going to own it all? Is he going to own? Because that's who I'm told is going around cooking the books, him and one other cat, telling people to do this. And again, that may or may not be true. I'm telling you that's allegedly, that's what I'm getting reported to. And if I was scared to, I'm going to say that publicly out that that's what has come in. That's what has been reported to me. And I say that because, Mr. Sharp, I like you. I've always liked you. I have always said that, I thought you were a decent guy. But again, if you're doing that kind of stuff, I hope that you'll call me and say, I was wrong. I'm willing to come forward. I'm willing to sign. I'm willing to be a whistleblower. and I'm willing to blow the top off this, because if you don't, again, you may get away with it. But at the end of the day, if we are able to prove that that's what was done, you're going to be in trouble, because you're going to be the one stuck holding the back. So
let's talk a little bit just before we have to leave here. You got a bill for whistleblower.
Yes.
And you got it out of committee. You got it out of, you got it out of the House.
Got it off the floor.
Now it's on the Senate. But from what I'm hearing, there's a bunch of these individuals over there in high positions are wanting to stop it because it will.
Bob, you think Stephen Harp ain't got people over there that, again, all these state agencies that do these contracts and private prisons and all these lobbyists that donate money to the employees, not to the employees, to the legislators, and, hiring people and all of these kind of things. I can tell you 1,000 reasons why they have influence over your senators and your representatives. And again, they're going to use that influence to say, oh, this is a terrible bill. Not just them, DHS, not just them, the DAs and all these people who are caught up nose deep in corruption, I say. And again, I don't want to say, what they're using all of these state funds to better themselves, better the department. Again, it may not be illegal because, again, he took $90,000 in salary. Harp did. Is it illegal? I don't know. I don't think anybody's ever.
I understand that's an investigation.
Well, I can tell you this. I've given them the law. I've looked up the law multiple times, and I can tell you right now, he has no authority that I can find, and I had lawyers look it up for me, so it ain't just me looking. I can tell you I don't see what authority he has, but at the same time, are they going to come back and say, well, you didn't have authority and you're going to have to give that back? Or are they going to say you didn't have the authority, but we're going to go ahead and okay it? What they're not going to charge him criminally with it, but at the same time, did he enrich himself by what authority? And again, all day long, I would call it embezzlement all day long. If you give yourself $90,000 without the authority or out any, of course, now the governor may come up and say, I gave him that. I gave him the authority, but I don't know. I'd like to see that written before he actually, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to see by what authority he got it. And he came and said it was by his own authority that he took that from, OMES too, and I don't see where he can do that. So again, I think that's wrong. Whether it's criminal, that's up to somebody else. But
JJ, how many? What do you think we got? Population is in prison right now? 17,
24,000. 24,000 some odd.
24,000. So you take California is up to about 98,000 inmates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he makes 290, I think, Bob.
So he's making a little bit more than Hart. But also, I looked him up. He's got like 25 years experience.
Yeah, he's making 15 million more. His budget is astronomically. I know Texas is 3.5 billion. I know California is bigger than that.
We're not even a billion.
Yeah, we're not even a billion. We're about a little over $500 million. Texas,
they have 100. It says here they have 199,000 are incarcerated, and 259,000 are on probation. In California.
Bob, hey, something that you can kind of, the way I like to kind of always compare stuff and keep in reality where we are as a state. If you want to go down to Dallas, which is not very far from us, Dallas used to have 4 million. I think they're up to 6 million now. We as a state, the entire state of Oklahoma, are somewhere around 4 million. So Dallas, Texas, the city of Dallas, Texas, is larger than the state. If you want to go down to Houston, when last I checked, they were somewhere around 13 or 14. They're almost 3 times or are 3 times. The city of Houston is 3 times larger population-wise than our entire state. So when you're looking at Texas, when you start putting cities like Austin, cities like El Paso, cities like Dallas, and some of these large metropolitan areas, again, there's just no comparison. And why would we have somebody when there's 4 million in our entire state, and then look at theirs? It's just mind-boggling. How do you okay it? How do
Well,
you
had
say that?
had to be something wrong for him to leave Ole Miss, take this job at DLC. It makes no sense. And then it also makes no sense that everybody that was at OMES are gone.
Well, Bob, you know what makes less sense is that if you have the audacity to call this out, which is just common sense, what me and you are talking about right now, hey, the average person, they hear this, they're going to agree with us. We're not making anything up. This is all the state auditor. This is all the stuff that we've already had him confirm. He confirms that he's making that salary. He confirms that it was brought over from OMES. All that is confirmed. He's confirmed he shot the floor. He's confirmed that people were locked in showers. Now he downplays it. They confirmed this last rape incident, but again, all the people that got fired that are suing, all of that's confirmed. Everything we're talking about has been confirmed. We're not now. Some of this stuff, like the most recent rape, some of this, like the meningitis, we're just saying.